As more and more allegations of sexual misconduct come out, the media is asking itself an important question. Why weren't these things reported sooner? Or worse, did the press turn a deaf ear, including to those rumors about one-time BSO music director James Levine? He arrived in Boston to much fanfare.
I just love this city, and I just love this orchestra.
For decades, James Levine was a revered maestro, serving as director of the New York Metropolitan Opera.
I'm so happy living in music, working on music.
The Met has now severed all ties to Levine, pending the outcome of an investigation into allegations of sexual abuse.
It is investigating details from a 2016 Illinois police report revealing allegations that Levine abused a teenaged boy.
Rumors about Levine's sexual misconduct circulated for decades. Boston Globe music critic Jeremy Eichler says the Globe itself got an anonymous tip.
It never amounted to anything. This story, I think, took this long to come out in part because of the standards that are important for these newspapers to maintain.
A book and several publications looked into the story. In 1987, Levine told the New York Times, "I don't have the faintest idea where those rumors came from." But as Jeremy Eichler notes, there's an even more insidious reason why Levine existed in a bubble.
It's long past time to sort of bury this idea of a kind of moral exceptionalism in the world of classical music and the performing arts. We have this sense that the conductor in these performances is almost the stand-in figure for the composer himself, and is glorified accordingly.
A glorification of celebrity that the media promotes, making it even more difficult to do the tough reporting. We should note today the New York Times ran yet another piece on James Levine where they actually spoke to Levine. He's denying all the charges. They also then went back to the accuser, who reiterated what he had said had happened at this music training camp back 30 years ago or so. But, and also I should say that the Boston Symphony Orchestra today confirmed that it had heard the rumors too at the time that they were vetting him for the job. But they could not get it, and they reminded me too that, even though Joanna Fiedler had written that book where she brought it up, the Times looked at it, the New Yorker looked at it, I think the New York Daily News went after this, the Globe, we now know, went after it. No one was able to confirm it, but it was one of those things that was a very not well-kept secret, and even I had heard it. So, and the truth of the matter, it sounds like there was a ring of truth to it.
We're at the moment. I mean, it almost didn't matter before, but now it all matters. Very similar situation with Israel Horovitz, the playwright. I was at the Boston Phoenix in 1993 when Bill Marx wrote 2 in-depth pieces of investigative reporting telling everything about Israel Horovitz and sexual harassment. The stories disappeared without a trace. The New York Times went back a few weeks ago. They also interviewed Bill and brought up that Phoenix reporting. And now it's on the table and everybody understands the importance of that.
Yeah, now it's a front-page story.
Right, now it's a front-page story. I mean, the world is pre-Harvey Weinstein and post-Harvey Weinstein.
Well, a lot of it has to do with when the victims are willing to come forward. Some of that has been cracked open by other people in other sectors coming forward, and people feel more comfortable. So if you had all of those rumors before and yet they could not get one of those people to be on the record, as happened with Harvey Weinstein and others, then that was going to slow people down. That's what the music critic meant by it did not comport with our standards, so we had to back away from it.
I think it's certainly true that the standards have changed and that women and men feel much more comfortable coming forward and reporting these sorts of things. It reminds me a bit of the situation with Louis C.K., where there was talk for a very long time and stories that would be published online in a variety of forums, but it wouldn't quite reach the full mainstream audience. I think one of the difficult things here is that the vetting for a situation like this happens at the moment of hire, and then there's sort of a long period while you're working there, and you don't get the same sort of attention. And these stories are hard to report, and news organizations have been losing resources, and it's not surprising that someone would spend a few weeks trying to find this out and then hit a wall and have to move on to something else.
I note on Bill Cosby, it was the comedian Hannibal Buress that broke it open because nobody else would say.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it had been out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
In a way, I don't know how to add to what all of you have said. This moment is so unique that I assume that people who were possibly afraid of going on the record with their stories 10 years ago, 20 years ago, are now comfortable in a way they wouldn't have been. Also wonder, in the case of James Levine, if different attitudes toward sexuality might be at play here.
Yes.
Maybe people are more comfortable now coming
Now,
forward.
yeah.
I'm not sure how widespread the glorification of, in the classical musical world, I get it, but I'm not sure if it were, you said Bill Marks got into this with Israel Horovitz at the Phoenix when he was covering theater for the paper. It seems to me like if there are allegations like this out there, they should be tackled by an investigative reporter as opposed to a classical musical critic who's going to be covering the performances of the individual.
I know, but it's a little bit like the sports department,
Exactly.
because there's all that glorification that goes on within the sports department, and then some guy comes in from the outside and tries to break, a rape story or something, and it's tough because they've gotten so much glory within a certain department.